this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill no one.
Wait a second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin vs. the World. I'm SeptumSin. This is Kotobuki Jake. And we're here to show you what they got. Alas, no Gundam this week.
Oh, dear me.
But here's some things that we think you'll really like. Alright, so we got some stuff coming up this week. We're going to go ahead and put this over here so that Jake can see everything that I see. And of course, as always, we have our ranking list for the things that we have interest in. So, or we have a particular disinterest in, so to speak. Of course, we start up with our priority, which are must-gets. They may be wish list grabs, but they're wish list grabs with a we will have it. Whereas priority, they may be wish listed. We may never get them, but we do want them, or we would really be happy if we could have them. But it doesn't have to be. If it has to go away, it has to go away. Curious, something that we're mildly interested in. Maybe want to throw a few bucks towards. Maybe free or $1, but otherwise very little interest. And hell no, we wouldn't even take it for free. As per usual, we always do a scale between the two of us to try and get a better, more even thing between the two tastes, I guess you could say. For me, it will be, for us, it just, we take the middle rounded down, unless it's the top or the bottom, at which point we need both of our consents to take it as a hell no or a priority. Just so you know, it's that good. Or that bad. Alright, so before we go, doing one more check real quick. Normally I don't, but we're moving on a quicker route, so I just want to make sure that our recording and stuff is working. So everything seems to be good and going fine. So we're going to start off with Jake.
Okay. We got a movie called A Man Called Adam. A movie from the 60s, I believe, with Sammy Davis Jr., also with Cicely Tyson, Ossie Davis, Mel Torme, and Louis Armstrong. How's that for a cast? About a jazz musician, and don't really honestly know a great deal more about it. I know Sammy Davis Jr. by reputation. I love me some good old jazz. Louis Armstrong was a hell of a trumpet player and a good singer. Ossie Davis is cool. I like him. I think overall it caught my interest. I'm curious about it, but I don't know much more than that. So, curious.
I can leave it there. With the cast, at least anything is going to be musically good.
Right.
So, let's go to the next one. So, Black Clover continues to release its massiveness with Season 3, Part 2. Of course, if I ever do collect for this, I won't be collecting it in these parts. It seems like each season comes in 1.5 million parts, but they do eventually release full season sets. I don't know much about this series other than I believe it's fantasy and kind of shonen-y. So, people do like it, and I did want to note it. It's still got my curiosity right now, just like it always has been. But I don't know if maybe one day it'll get a yes, please.
I think we've talked about this one before, and it is again. I'm curious about it. I am not going to be buying it in this format, but I will probably go for the full season format. But one day.
All right.
Okay, next up we have another Sammy Davis Jr. one called Anna Lucasta, which, if I understand correctly, is a remake of a somewhat earlier stage play. And it also co-stars Eartha Kitt, she of Batman fame, and some other folks. And supposedly this one's kind of meh. It's not considered a great film from what I understand, but again, given the overall pedigree, it's caught my curiosity, if nothing else.
All right. So, and again, I am curious. I'm a lower curious than this one, but I am
right.
Curious.
Yeah.
Doesn't have quite the cast that other one did.
Right.
All right. So another one that's got me slightly interested, mainly because of the cast, which is a movie called Dark Intruder, which stars Leslie Nielsen, Judy Meredith, and Mark Richmond. So this one here does seem to be interesting. Dark Intruder stars Leslie Nielsen. an occult expert who is brought in by police to help solve a series of murders in which a mystical statue is left at each crime scene. So this is about like kind of a gothic horror slash noir type. And it's interesting because, of course, Leslie Nielsen was pretty much a serious actor up until Airplane, really.
And this is a pre-Airplane film, if I remember correctly.
Oh, almost definitely it is.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. I haven't seen a lot of Leslie Nielsen. I've seen Forbidden Planet. But otherwise, I haven't really seen him do anything like that. So I am highly curious on that one.
I saw him play a villain on Columbo, so I've seen some of his older serious work. This one, I was on the fence about putting it on my list, but I figured you'd jump on it. I am curious, maybe a little bit more than Anna Lacosta. It's in that low curious range.
Right. Moving on.
Okay. Next up, Arch Enemy. A movie starring Joe Manganiello, who nearly became Deathstroke, and then DC decided to go in a different direction. You also have, this says on the cover, from the producers of Mandy and Color Out of Space. That makes me nervous. But essentially, it's about a dude who says he's from another world or another dimension. I think another dimension. And he says that in that dimension, he is a superhero. I think his name is isn't it like Max Fist or something like that? And but here he's just a homeless bum. And this one kid believes him, I guess, is my understanding of it. Apparently it has scenes that are actually illustrated like comics. It sounds intriguing to me. It sounds like it's probably not brilliant, and the IMDb rating was middling. But Color Out of Space was a fascinating film, and this has a fascinating premise, so I'm willing to give it a shot. So definitely a high curious.
So just as an extra note, Amazon has this being released on the 16th, so it's very possible this is pulled back. We may cover it briefly later on, but just as something to take note of.
Or it could be that it's available at this week from other vendors. I mean, Amazon is known to do that.
That is true. Now,
So-
there is one that was pushed way back, and we're going to get to that a little bit.
Okay.
So you said curious, and
Yeah.
I think I can go with curious.
It's a pretty curious week so far.
Not anymore. So, Target is releasing an exclusive steelbook 4K of the 50 Shades Trilogy.
Ooh.
Now, I've seen the first film in this series, and I've heard exactly what happens in the other films. This is a bit of a smuttiness from a person who is a huge Twilight fan, so she decided to write her own Twilight fan fiction, which became basically about a woman meeting a powerful and abusive man and being able to change him for the good. I don't like this. I don't like the book series. I think it's actually a dangerous narrative to have women believe that, you can take a sadistic man and change him to fit your ideals. This really, to me, is disgusting and disturbing. For me, this entire series, though I have one of them, it's my wife's, not mine, I am going to have a hell no on that, just because to me it promotes the worst behaviors and worst of everything in people and should never be viewed or taken seriously in this way. Though it does have a nice soundtrack.
Yes, and that is my bane of my existence, unfortunately. Now, this being the trilogy, I might be able to split hairs here a bit. Because the Oscars, in their infinite wisdom, decided that there was a song from the first movie that deserved an Oscar nomination, bastards, it is an Oscar-nominated film and therefore has to be in the Yes Please category for me. Mm-hmm. That said, the other two films sure as heck are not Oscar nominees. I may one day watch them out of sheer morbid curiosity, or I may one day end up with someone who forces me to watch them. I don't know. It could happen, and I won't discount that. But I can say in terms of the second two films, as things stand right now, I can go hell no on both of those. So I'm going to go hell no on the trilogy. I could, if it was individual releases, I wouldn't be able to do that, but I can for the trilogy. Yes. I have no desire to see the first one, although I will concede the first one had a great soundtrack.
It does at that.
Even the worst of films occasionally have redeeming qualities. It's just
I have a feeling if we ever covered an Inside Movies Galore, Dane would be like, this is a masterpiece.
You ought to put it up one day as a second chances.
Lord knows I have it.
Oh, but you've probably already seen it 2 or 3 times. So, another one, if I'm not mistaken, this is also a Target exclusive, isn't it?
No, because it's on Amazon.
Oh, well, then what was the other Target? There was another one. Well, whatever.
Well, it's the only one that we're covering anyway, because everything else has been found elsewhere.
I could have sworn there was another one. Anyway, strangely enough, Do the Right Thing, which rather recently got a Criterion re-release, is getting a non-Criterion re-release. Go figure. Lots of bonus features, though. So if for anyone who, for whatever reason, doesn't want a Criterion-branded Do the Right Thing, or you want a full 4K release, that's probably what it is, because the Criterion's not technically a 4K release. If you want this film on 4K, we've already talked about the movie on here. It's a great film. It's worth getting. It's worth watching. It is arguable whether it needs a 4K upgrade. Although here again, the music is a big part of the film, and I'm a big booster for 4K for good music quality. I would say I would go ahead and consider this a priority, even though the Criterion's probably the better release. If you're a 4K collector, go ahead and spring for it.
For me, it's not quite a priority. I do think it's an important film, and I do own it, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't a film that I was going to say I have to have it by any means. It's a film that I've wish listed for years before I finally picked it up. So that tells me right there that I can't say it's a priority. I would say,
well, by that definition, I'd say yes, please, too. But I did get it shortly after Criterion re-released it.
Well, for me, if they had said it was going out of print, I'd probably just wait for it to come back into print again. So it would be I waited for the right time, and it was kind of it needed to be in there eventually. All right. Moving on, The Go-Go's, a documentary. I believe this is a Kino Lorber release. It's a Blu-ray release.
Is it?
And the 26th is when Amazon has it coming out. So, okay, let me see. I thought it was Kino, but I guess not. Ume. All right.
Ume.
That's interesting.
Well, it wasn't coming out like Blu-ray.com had it listed for a non-Tuesday release. Kino usually does Tuesday. That's why I was curious.
So this one looks to be an interesting film. And I guess we'll cover it again as it gets closer to the 26th. But I love this publisher. I mean, I love this this publication here. It looks to be a doc of some sort. And to me, I normally don't go for those things, but in this case, I am very interested in it. I'm at a high curious for it.
I give it a high curious too. I almost put it on my list, but I was trying not to go overboard.
All right.
So, speaking of music themed stuff,
and by the way, just as a heads up on this one, just wanted to get this. This one, I thought I had it already up on Right Stuff, which I'll get that changed right now. But this one is not due out for. They have a March release for this thing. So this one seems.
Amazon had it listed for this date.
Amazon and this has a release date of March 9th, which is weird that Blu-ray.com does not. Blu-ray.com.
Okay, that could have gotten pushed back. That makes sense. I mean, it's a Funimation release. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. But for lack of anime this week, we might as well mention, if my favorite pop idol made it to the Budokan, I would die. Another in the long series of anime with absurdly long titles, needlessly long titles. Basically, from what I understand, it's about an obsessed fan and her favorite group, Cham Jam, that could be going to Budokan, and this is her efforts to get them, do what you can, if you will. I like how they call them Cham Jam. I wonder if that's a reference to Perfect Blue. But it's just one I've heard about, that a title like that does stick in your mind, even though it's kind of stupidly long. Maybe because it's stupidly long. But I do like my Idol series. I have not heard anything bad about this. So it's definitely at a high curious. I'm not going to be rushing out to pay Funimation prices for it, but, one day.
I'm out of curiosity for it. It does pique my curiosity. All right, so next up. All right, so the Great Alligator, yes, a.k.a. Il Fiume del Grande Caimano, yes.
Caimano.
So,
the Grande Caimano.
It's not an animal, it's a demon.
Yeah.
So obviously this is not a U.S. Release. Well, sorry, it's a U.S. release, but it's not a U.S. movie. More bloodthirsty than a piranha, meaner than Jaws. Here comes the Great Alligator, a blood-soaked tale of jungle greed and just desserts. From cult director Sergio Martino for did Torso, and Barbara Bach, The Unseen, and The Spy Who Loved Me. I've seen those two. And Claudio Cassinelli, Screamers, Slave of the Cannibal God, and Hands of Steel. Head into the steamy jungles of the Southwest Asia, where construction...
Steamy jungles of Southwest Asia? Huh.
Southeast Asia, sorry. Where construction for an exclusive resort is treading into territory that the Kuma natives hold sacred, and their alligator god Kruna takes personally. Ooh, so you got a pissed off alligator, and this looks fun. A friend of ours, he would have loved this. He always loved the Monster Eats type films, as he called them. And I have to say, this one looks fun. And another friend of ours from Inside Movies Galore probably would love this one as well. I'm in the curiosity range, just because these type of things. It's also 1979, which was my birth year, so hey, more reason.
Yeah, you'd find out if something quality came in.
Exactly.
Given that it's Italian and from the late 70s, there is that part of me that goes, oh God, this is probably way too bloody. It may not be. And without more information, I'm not going to go hell no, because I am curious. But without more information, I probably will have to go meh, because I don't know if it's one that I would be able to. Yeah. Next
up is...
I'm sure we'll cover it one day in Movies Galore. This one is called The Kiss Before the Mirror, an old film from James Whale, actually. The director, I believe, isn't he the director of the original Frankenstein, if I'm remembering correctly? This one is apparently a courtroom infidelity drama, co-starring, as you see there, Gloria Stewart, Paul Lucas, Frank Morgan, Nancy Carroll. So, when Walter Bernsdorf kills his wife for having an affair, lawyer Paul Held takes on the case. Suggesting that Walter could be acquitted by means of temporary insanity, Paul not only realizes that this defense may work, but that also some of the behavioral patterns Walter's wife showed in regard to her infidelity are appearing in his own wife, Maria. Paul realizes that if this defense could work once, it might work a second time. It's a riveting pre-code thriller. Supposedly, this had some stuff that would not have survived the Hollywood code, as it were. It's also supposedly an underwhelming film based on the little I've read about it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it's a James Whale film, I know Gloria Stewart by name. I know some of the other names are reasonably well known. I am definitely curious about this. I wouldn't rush out to get it, but I'd give it a good solid curious.
I would say a low curious for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on. We covered this a little while ago. Horror Noir, A History of Black Horror. This is a documentary that was on Shudder, and it's interesting because it covers a lot of the blaxploitation type horror as well as other type of, basically entry of race into horror. I find this a very fascinating thing. I find any type of documentary about film extremely fascinating. Finally, it's getting a good release date of the 2nd of February. Was this pushed back, or was the initial release DVD only? I can't remember. It could have been DVD
I mean, you could look on it and see what the street date for DVD was.
Let's see here. Nope, says February 2nd.
Oh, maybe it got pushed back.
Maybe. I mean, Image Entertainment, but again... Yeah. It looks fun. I really am interested in it. I'm interested in it beyond curious. I'm actually at a yes please on this one.
Now I admit, I figured you were probably going for most of the Shudder stuff, so I didn't even think about putting it on there. So I figured you'd have this one. I am definitely curious myself. I'm not sure if my curiosity quite reaches yes please territory. I don't know that I've earmarked this as a must get, but I'm definitely very curious.
All right, well, I can take
since I'm kind of right on the border and we don't have anything else up there, go ahead and put it on yes please.
All right, well, we will move on.
Okay. Lassie! This is the 1994 remake of Lassie. And I have this on here for one specific reason. It's because that stupid Timmy keeps falling in the well. No, the main reason this is on my list is that this specifically takes place in Virginia. And it apparently was filmed in Virginia and West Virginia, which I never realized that before. And I just figured, given especially the theme of our movie next month, I wish I'd realized that this would be a good horror movie for Virginia, wouldn't it?
You know, it's odd that Lassie is one of those... I actually grew up with the original show on Nick at Night, as a teen. Oh, no, not as a teen, as a kid, because it was shown on Nickelodeon. So, yeah, because every time I look at it, I think of the old theme that they used to do. And
I did not know the show.
and this came out when I was a teenager, so I probably wasn't as intent on it. So where did you put it on there?
I'm not entirely certain, honestly. It's kind of, I'm not, if it weren't for where it was filmed, I'd be meh. But I am genuinely curious about most Virginia products, so I'll give it curious just for that.
I'd almost give it a meh, but there's a part of me that wants to at least see it once to see if it's like if I remember this from when I was younger, because I'm sure I've watched it once. But it's curiosity. So yeah, low curious. Well, all right, we're being generous with each other's votes today.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, here's one you'll have a harder time being generous with. Host. Now, I have seen this. It's actually very good at what it does. I don't know if you're familiar with Unfriended, but it's a similar concept. Essentially, a bunch of people decide to get on a Zoom call together because, COVID. Matter of fact, I believe this is a 2020 film, so I have it on my list of films that I've seen for the year. And they decide, we're going to hold a seance because, they're stupid. And they end up summoning something that they shouldn't have. Now, this is not a particularly bloody one. Actually, it's not bloody at all, but it is very creative in how they utilize the effects and the resources that they were given, as well as it keeps you in that very intense feel. I feel like it's a really good horror film, probably one of the better horror films of the year when it comes to scares. Like I say, not bloody, but scary.
Is it the scariest film of the decade, as it says there?
Probably not decade, but definitely of 2020, I would say it has a good running for it. So I will put this. It's going to go down a little bit, but I'm going to put this as a yes, please, because I will eventually get it.
Well, I'm not usually super intrigued by these kinds of films, but this one, it has me at least mildly curious. If it's not gory or bloody, I can go curious.
Yeah, I figured you wouldn't necessarily go hell no, because I could actually tell you whether you would need a hell no on that one or not.
Right.
And that one's not bloody at all. Matter of fact, I can say that as far as things go, Host would be one that even my wife could vouch for.
Good deal.
So, we will move on.
The Last Blockbuster. Now, I know this is one we covered not long ago.
Yep.
But this is... What's that?
First wide release, because you could only get it through Blockbuster before.
Ah, so that's what it is. Is this the first Blu-ray release? I can't remember.
I think it was released on Blu-ray previously.
Okay. So, wide release then. Last Blockbuster sounds like, we talked about it before. It sounds like an intriguing documentary. I'd like to see it. I can't recall if I rated it at curious or yes, please. Do you remember?
I can't remember. I think I had it at yes, please last. I think you brought it down to curious last.
Yeah, what the hell? Let's go yes, please. Because I do want to see it. And I think I'd like to have it.
If anything, it kind of reflects something from both of our youths.
Right.
Even though it wasn't Blockbuster for me, because I didn't have a lot of those around, it was those rental places, very much so.
Oh, we had Blockbuster, but I always went to the other stores.
Yeah.
Except when they were closing. I got a lot of stuff off of closing Blockbusters.
So, La Casa, another one that's it's another like a haunted film. You can get this on Amazon, but there was no picture. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just go over here where there's a picture of what the cover is on here. Yeah, it's not a lot about this. It's just I like haunted house films. You know I like haunted house films, and it looks fun. I mean, inspired by real events. Yeah, sure, Jan. Responding to an urgent call for help, a police officer becomes trapped by an evil spirits of a cursed house. Again, it's kind of cool. I like that you have a police officer trapped, because usually when the police get there, the ghosts and stuff, they run off. They're scared of being arrested. I mean, it's a cool concept. It's intriguing. It has me at curious.
Well, I have to admit, I know very little about this, and it's not... I'd probably go meh. But the fact that it's Spanish language does intrigue me. I've seen some really good Spanish haunting films. So, I'll give it a low curious.
All right, moving right along.
Okay. Nation Time. This one, I believe, is a Kino Lorber release. It's a documentary about an epic gathering in Gary, Indiana for the 1972 National Black Political Convention. So let's see. Wow, that's a pretty good assortment of folks there. You got Jesse Jackson, Isaac Hayes, Coretta Scott King, Richard Roundtree. It's Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier doing narration for it. That's pretty good assortment there. I am intrigued by this. I like good documentaries. This looks like it has the potential to be a good one. It's about a pretty important phase in history that unfortunately has remained relevant and arguably is more so now than it has been for some time. So I'm curious to see this one. And I'd almost go yes, please, but I'm not sure. I think I'm right on the border. Probably curious.
I can leave it at curious. I am curious about it. All right, one I am not curious about is Rodney Dangerfield's Ladybugs.
I find it curious.
Basically,
look at the picture. That's a very curious picture.
This is a film. I watched this all the time when I was young. This is basically a film about this kid. He's a teen. He's got his I think stepfather in the name of Rodney Dangerfield, and he's really good at soccer, but is not allowed to play on the regular soccer team. So they kind of bond, where Rodney Dangerfield is coaching this female soccer team that's not doing very well. So he ends up dressing the guy as a girl in order to have him help bring the team to victory. And he ends up doing it mainly because he really likes the girl that is there. So, see, that's the girl that he likes there. And then, of course, that's him. You can just see the back of his head there.
Yeah.
So it's a fun movie. It was very enjoyable. I will be getting this for my collection. It is only a matter of time. Do I think it is a priority? No, but it is on the yes please for me.
Now, I have to admit, with anything Rodney Dangerfield, I tend to be kind of, okay, that looks interesting. You know, I was never an enormous fan of his, but he's a likable enough guy, and I never did see this, so I'm coming at it from a very different perspective, but I had seen it advertised. It is not one that's entirely new to me. I can't give this anything above a curious myself, but I would definitely give it that.
Very good. Hey, at least it's not a hell no.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Okay. Next up, one that's probably a borderline hell no for you. Got Revolutionary Road from Sam Mendes, director of your favorite film of all time. and co-starring Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. This was one of a couple high-profile re-releases this week. They fall into the category of, I'm not really sure why they're getting a re-release this week, but, whatever. This is a good movie. Brings back our Titanic lovebirds as if Jack is Jack, right? If he had lived and they went into suburbia and then 15, 20 years later everything's falling to hell, that's this movie. That's pretty much the long and short of it. It's a suburban drama. It featured, was it Michael Sheen, I think it was, who got an Oscar nod for his role. It's actually, or Michael Shannon, I believe it was. I'm getting confused there. But whatever the case, it was an Oscar nominee. I would put it at a solid priority to get, except that I already have it.
Well,
and
we treat it as if we don't have it.
Yeah. If I didn't have it, honestly, it would be guaranteed yes, please, because of the Oscar history. And it's a good enough movie. I'd probably say yes, please anyway, especially with that cast. But I didn't really like it, so I can't really give it a priority, I suppose.
It doesn't really intrigue me all that much. It's kind of a meh for me. I really can't give it above that. I'd be willing to watch it if someone handed it to me.
You never did see it?
Nope, never seen it. Don't have the desire
Oh, it's worth a watch.
So, because of that, well, I guess that'll take that down to a curious, because...
Okay. You can watch that and then put on Ladybugs afterwards for a palate cleanser.
So, speaking of a palate cleanser, Mouse Hunt. This one I just put in there. It's Nathan Lane, Lee Evans. It's a fairly...
I didn't realize Gore Verbinski directed that.
It's a cute little comedy about these people. They inherit a factory, and unfortunately this mouse has been living in the factory, and they try to get rid of the mouse in order to try and, do it. It's essentially a Warner Brothers Tom and Jerry not Warner Brothers. It's a Tom and Jerry cartoon brought to life. That's the whole of it. That's really where you go. It's cute.
Which one does Christopher Walken play?
I have to say it's entertaining, but it's not one I would rush out to get. It's more of one I'd probably put it at a curious. It's like one I might get eventually down the road, but it's debatable.
That's another one I've known about for years and just never got around to it. I didn't realize Christopher Walken was in it. But Nathan Lane's amusing. Yeah, I'll give it a good curious.
Let's see here.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Another totally random re-release this week, at least I'm assuming it's totally random, is Shin Godzilla, which is a pretty awesome movie, which we did cover actually on Movies Galore at one point for our Kaiju Combat Month last year. This is a film by Hideaki Anno, maker of Evangelion, and it's I think we had kind of joked that it's basically Bureaucracy the movie.
Yes.
It's Godzilla as political commentary. Let's put it that way. And I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really good.
I like his little eyes.
Yeah. Oh, that's nothing like the weird, creepy, googly eyes of the initial Godzilla. Because this is one that has an evolving Godzilla, and that's kind of a strange idea, I guess. But if you have not seen this, you gotta see it. It is essential, especially to any fans of kaiju films. It's essential. I did not exactly prioritize getting it in the first place, but I kind of prioritized getting it after seeing it. So I'd almost say this is a priority, but I can definitely go solid yes, please.
So I'm conflicted with it. I mean, I kind of liked it. I thought it was okay, but it was boring at parts, which is supposed to be boring at parts. I do like the pedigree, but I hate that he basically dropped the fourth Ava movie to do that. I'm willing to leave it at a yes, please, but at a very low one.
Okay.
All right, moving on. All right, The Norseman, Lee Majors and Cornell Wilde, a kind of Viking fantasy drama. It was okay. I owned it, so therefore I felt like I had to covers it. I got it because it was on a 2-pack, and I really wanted the other film. So with that being said, I'll keep it the low curious for me. It was all right.
Honestly, I'm almost curious, Lee Majors and all that, but I'm going to go meh.
All right.
Yeah.
And moving on.
Okay, that was quick. That was easy.
Yep.
Okay, Tesla. This was, I believe, a 2020 release, which features Ethan Hawke as Nikolai Tesla, and which also has a you disappeared on the cast there. I was going to look at that, but overall, Hawke got excellent review. Eva Houston, Michael Amareda, director and producer of the film. Interestingly enough. Hawke got a lot of buzz for his performance. Supposedly, he does a really, really good job. You've also got Kyle MacLachlan there as Thomas Edison. Jim Gaffigan's in there. The movie has made several critics' best of lists for the year. Not in the upper rungs, but like in the 20 to 40 range. So it's definitely on my list of ones I would like to see. I doubt that I'll be more impressed. I loved David Bowie's portrayal of Tesla, and what was it? Prestige, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was The Prestige.
Yeah, but I'll be curious to see this one. So I would give it a yes, please, for viewing. But in terms of my collection, without more info, I'm going to give it a curious.
It's a very high curious, almost a yes, please, but I really do want to see it first. And maybe if it gets awards love, I would go higher. But I want to see it first. But I definitely want to see the movie.
And it may, because a lot of people, myself included, thought that Hawke was somewhat overlooked for First Reformed.
Yeah,
So if he's as good as people say he is in this one, then
And Hawke is a good actor, so I can't really disagree on that. Speaking of great acting, Shudder is doing another original release. They need to get off their butts and release Hell House LLC 3, but Random Acts of Violence. With Jesse Williams, Jordana Brewster, and Jay Bruchel. This one just caught my eye. It looks kind of cool. Comic book creator Todd Walkley, his wife, assistant, and best friend are headed to New York City Comic Con. When bad things start to happen, people start getting killed. Soon it becomes clear that the crazed fan is using his Slasher Man comic as an inspiration for the killings, and as bodies pile up and Todd's friends become victims themselves, he is forced to face the killer and put an end to his notorious comic once and for all. I'm gonna, this is a high curious for me, just because I love things like this. It's very Tales of the Crypt and Creep Show like, and I love those sort of things. It sounds like it's a little bit slashery, a little bit campy, all the right things, but I really need to see it first before I can make any judgment call beyond a curious. So I will go with the curious rating for myself.
See, I'm in a similar but different position where I want to say I'm curious about it. I like the setup. I'm intrigued by it. But with any sort of slasher film, I have to know what the level of violence is before I can give it a high rating. So I'm going to have to go meh for the time being.
All right. Moving right along.
Yeah. Okay, Tribes on the Edge, a documentary about native indigenous tribes in South America, if I'm not mistaken, directed by Celine Cousteau, who I'm not sure her relationship to the Cousteau dynasty, but she is part of the Cousteau family, and that right there has my interest. And the idea of a dying, the way that we have just, the way that indigenous tribes have been treated all around the world is repulsive. And I would imagine this is probably a very what's the word I'm looking for? Depressing documentary. But it could be very good. And again, if Celine, if she's as good as old Jacques was with the documentaries and whatever, I'm very curious about that. I would actually give this a yes, please.
I'm curious about it. I can't give it a yes, please until I've seen it. But I am curious enough to say I would like to watch it first. All right. Moving on. All right, sky sharks. The sea is for fish. The sky is for sharks.
That is a great tagline. That is a great tagline. And I love how there's a plane right behind it.
It's got freaking laser beams.
Sharks with freaking lasers.
Hey, look at that one over there. It's like the shark-looking plane over here. It's got machine guns over there. This is like, I don't know. I gotta find the, okay. 75 years after World War II, an Arctic research team discovers the Himmelfaust, a colossal Nazi warship thought to be long lost. Within, they find the Third Reich's base for a weapon like no other: sky sharks, jet-propelled, artillery-equipped, aeronautical, and manned by an army of the undead elite Nazi soldiers. These flying beasts were created to prevent the downfall of the Third Reich, but now they seek revenge and to claim their final victory, taking down the whole world with them in the process, if they can. So it's not just Nazis, it's not just Nazi zombies, it's Nazi zombie sharks who've been mechanized into a cyber weapons that fly.
You gotta say it right. Zombie Nazis with flying sharks that have freaking lasers.
You know, this sounds like absolutely horrid, but you know me. I can't put it as a priority, but it is on my wish list. I got to see it at least.
This sounds like the very definition of trash cinema, but it also sounds like something as well that, depending on how they go about it, I might find the film kind of, yeah. You know, it's like that random acts of violence. Certain things in the description have my hackles on edge, and I don't know that I want to see this, but I do want to see this.
It's mechanized Nazi sharks.
I'm going to go curious on this one.
All right.
Who knows? It could be another Velociraptor or Velocipastor.
Exactly. And another film in that vein, obviously.
Okay, so next up we have a film by John Patrick Shanley called Wild Mountain Thyme, which stars, if I recall correctly, the star of 50 Shades of Grey, along with Emily Blunt and Christopher Walken once again. A very different movie from Mouse Hunt, I'll bet. And this is a film by the guy behind Moonstruck. Okay, that's kind of fun. It's a romance set in Ireland. Headstrong farmer Rosemary Muldoon has her heart set on winning her neighbor Anthony Riley's love. The problem is, etc., etc. The problem is he's actually the dude from 50 Shades of Grey, and that should be a problem for anybody. Well, and John Hamm's in there as well. Yeah. So, hamming it up as he does. Let me see. Are there any other notable cast members here? No, nothing else really jumps out at me there. This is one I had heard about in passing. I don't think it's really gotten a great deal of buzz, in terms of awards and whatever, but it's out there and it's on my radar. I want to see it, and given the cast, I can give it a curious, but that's about it.
It's a little curious. Mainly the cast is what does that. I can't go above that, though. It's no Sky Sharks, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I know, man.
All right, Small Soldiers, a release, probably I think the first time it's getting a Blu-ray release, which is kind of cool.
Could be.
This is one that I didn't like when I first watched it, but I actually have grown to like a lot, even love a little bit as time goes on.
Didn't you say it was creepy?
Yes, it's actually a fairly creepy film that is a kid's film, as they were back in those days. I mean, you can attest, a lot of children's films got pretty darn creepy back in the day. And it's about these, like, toys that get outfitted with military microchip technology and end up literally going to war with one another and not caring about the collateral in their wake. Of course, it's not bloody or anything like that, but it does have some creepy moments. Like, they end up hardwiring these Barbie dolls into these twisted, malformed creatures, similar to how they look in Toy Story. You remember, like, the kind of similar to that, and some of those things can be pretty creepy. I like how it does that. I appreciate it now more than I did when I first saw it. And again, it's a fun movie, very enjoyable. Kirsten Dunst, Gregory Smith, James M. Arnett, and Joe Dante is the director. So you've got some good pedigree there as well. I will put Small Soldiers, again, for me, more out of nostalgic value, I guess, than anything else on a yes, please. Because I do want to get it in I think I might have it in my collection, actually.
Well, oh, never mind. I was going to say, having never seen it, I can't give it the nostalgia value, but I'm curious about it, and I'll give it that.
All right. I'm just, like, do I have... Yes, I do have Small Soldiers, but I have it on DVD. So, all right. So, moving right along. Moving right along. Dun, dun, dun.
Right.
Last one.
We're ending with a bang. Well, not really, but anyway, we got a remake, which is not really that new at this point. I think it was like late 90s, of an older film. I believe the original one was Henry Fonda and Lucille Ball, if I'm remembering correctly. But this one is Dennis Quaid and Rene Russo in Yours, Mine, and Ours, about two incredibly fertile individuals who meet and fall in love, and their respective broods. There is some obvious conflict about this new arrangement, and I think I've seen one of the two versions, but for the life of me, I cannot remember for sure. And I don't. Okay, now I love this synopsis here. When Frank Beardsley, a widower of 8 children, that's an unfortunate use of language.
Yeah, he made widowers of all of them. He killed all their wives.
I don't think that's what they meant. Oh, man. That's unfortunate. That almost makes me want to see it more. I was always curious about these, but obviously not too curious because I never got around to them. But, curious.
Jesus. I feel bad for her. 10 freaking kids. This is like, what was that one? The Duggars.
Oh, okay. She adopted 6.
Oh, okay.
But still.
That's good, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you've got this as a priority?
That's a curious.
In truth, this is a meh for me.
Okay.
But
I said we were ending with a bang.
so with that,
All right.
said,
We got a hell no this time.
we did get a hell no. If they had separated it out, it wouldn't have been. But thanks to having to bundle the other two movies, and we managed to throw it down the stairs and hopefully break
Nice.
its neck for good.
Good times.
But this is what we've got here. Now, we had a couple others, Breach with Bruce Willis.
I was a little interested into Tokyo, and Elise is actually by Anthony Hopkins' wife, amazingly, is the director of that one. So I was intrigued by that, but yeah.
And Journey to Royale, I had a little bit of interest in. But, as is, they look like they're okay films if you like them.
Right.
Hey, they're down there. You can check them out.
Overall, it was a weak week, though.
Yeah.
Very weak.
But, hey, it bodes well for us because it helps our time.
Exactly.
So with that being said, I'm going to leave this up here so y'all can see again. If you've enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe, and, of course, share. But, of course, best of all, we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.